Welcome back. I'm glad you're watching Morning Express. And on a person of interest this morning, we will be speaking to Elijah Situma as we get up close and personal with him. He's a man of many titles. He's currently the Human Resource Director at G4S. He has previously worked with the Nestle Equatorial African Region as Regional Human Resource Compliance Manager and EABL Group Supply as a Head of Human Resources. He is also the current chairman of the Institute of Human Resource Management IHRM Council, which has played a critical role in professionalizing human resources in Kenya. And in studio with us is Mr. Elijah Situma. Thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Thank you for having me.
You're a man of many titles, clearly a guru or an expert in human resource. Let's begin with the fact that last year, the Institute of Human Resource Management launched a strategic plan that was set to revolutionize human resource sector in the country. What did this plan comprise of?
Right. Thank you, Michelle. It is true that we have revolutionized the way HR works in Kenya. And this came through the Act of 2012. The human resource management now is regulated through an Act of Parliament. Means there are specific things that the human resource managers must do professionally so as to be part of the industry and make sure that we are doing well. So subsequent to us getting the Act, we put the council together, the National Council for IHRM, which consists of 9 members, right? 2 of them are seconded from the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Youth and Gender and Public Service.
Right.
So that constitutes then the team that put together a strategic plan. This strategic plan was first to make this Act operational. And there are several issues in that Act that we need to bring to operation, so that we are able then to monitor and regulate the practice of human resource management in this country. That is what we have been doing. We got a strategic plan, and in the strategic plan, we have got several pillars that we are looking at.
Right.
The first one is to establish a countrywide branch of offices where all human resource managers, wherever you are, you might be in Garissa, you might be in Kakamega, you might be in Kisumu, you might be in Mombasa, we are able to reach you so that we are able to validate your membership. We are able to bring through the training that you require, and we are able to make sure that you are registered and you have your membership, you have the practicing certificate, so you are able to legally practice.
And just before you continue, that's rather interesting because so for you to be an HR expert or a human resource personnel, you must be registered under a certain body. Correct.
And that is the Institute of Human Resource Management, and that is now legal in the country. So all people, all persons interested to practice human resource management in the country have to register. Once they register, then you become a member. You have to be vetted first. Have you trained in human resource management? Right from your first degree, do you have postgraduate training? What about your experience? What area of HR are you working in at the moment? Do you have what it takes to deliver that function to the industry or to the organization in which you are working? Then if you have done 10 years and above, you'll be receiving a practicing certificate. A practicing certificate is somebody who has been put there to manage a department in the bigger HR organization within a firm, within an industry. So that, again, is a requirement in the Act. So through the strategic plan, we put all that in place. So we want to be where our members are, and we facilitate their growth and their development.
Right.
The same strategic plan has come up with a plan on how we are going to give continuous professional development. We call it CPD points. They have to get CPD points aggregate of 10 per year. How do you deliver CPD points for your members who are in Mombasa, who are in Kisumu, who are in Nakuru, who are in Eldoret? It is through this branch network. So the branch network has been organized in a manner that it has got a chairman, the entire officials. They have got a calendar of CBD, and they are able to get forums going on. They are able to organize for workshops, seminars, conventions, so that HR people then are exposed to the modern trends on how to professionally manage people in the workplace. Michelle, if you look at what's going at our country, we need to upskill our HR managers so that the redundancies that are coming up. I think you've heard many firms are declaring staff redundant.
Right. Especially in this past year, 2016, we even had the same here at the Standard Group, but also, Airtel. We had several big companies, but even addressing the issues of workers not being very content, the strikes that we are seeing with doctors and teachers as well.
Right. We want to do a root cause analysis to find out why is our economy undergoing through what it's going at the moment, right? There are several factors. One of it is human resource management.
Right.
And let me bring it clear here why. Because a human resource manager must understand the industry and the business in which you're working in, right? That's one. Two, if you realize there's a lot of changes that are happening in the economy, right, from the ICT revolution. Now everything is apps, right? You can do everything, Pay and all those other applications that you have. What that means is that you can get the same services that corporates are giving cheaply within the market.
Right.
That means the price of your goods in an industry or services has been disrupted by the young coming up industries, all right, who are nimble, who are smarter, who are quick to market, who can package their products very well. So you get that the banks are into the same because there is, I can really send money all over. I don't need to go to the bank. I can do internet banking.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of disruptions coming up in the industry. So the economy is taking at it because of this fast-moving economic environment in which we are. So it is the role of the human resource manager then to see how to arrange the staff internally so that they are prepared for this disruption and competition that is coming from the market. How do you do that? There are several tools that you could use as a professional HR to make sure that you get it right. First, are you managing the delivery, the contribution of your staff, number one. Number two, have you done your organization design? Remember, it has to be done every year so that the structure befits the organizational strategy that you have. Have you looked at the capability of your staff members? Are you training them? Are you empowering them? Are you making them to be part of the renovation agenda for the organization so that you can meet the market changes that are coming up?
Right.
I think we have stuck to the traditional way that if I was employed 10 years, have got my job description, is the same that I keep having up to date. That's where HR goes wrong. If we had a structure within my organization, an organ structure, all right, 10 years ago is the same thing that I have now. That's very wrong. So we're not relevant. We're not acting quickly to advise the investor or the management or the owners of business on how to restructure internal capability to reflect the forces of competition we have from the market.
Right.
So that's why we want HR people to come together. We expose them to these trends, tell them this is what you need to do on a continuous basis so that you are able then to position your organization as a better competitor within the market. So,
and I like that you bring in the fact that, with economy, many factors affect the economy, and one of them is human resource.
Right.
And when you talk about the public sector, and especially public service delivery to the citizens, a bigger factor there is also human resource.
Very true, very
Talk
true.
to us about that.
Actually, the largest employer, as we know, it is our government. So the government ought to have a specific arrangement on how to deliver the services. Remember, there is a charter of service that the government has entered into. Right? When we all pay our taxes, we expect that specific services have to be in place and have to be delivered. All right? The government came up with performance contracting for the officials that it had, all right, so as to monitor what specific ministries are doing in fulfilling that service charter, that responsibility, obligation of the government to give back to the society, to the members of what they need. It could be medicine, it could be teaching, education, it could be roads, it could be all areas, supply of water. So when the government gets its officials, when it employs its people, it needs to identify skills that will be able to provide these services, and then measure the contribution that the people who have been employed as civil servants are bringing on board, and be able to track their contribution or their performance continuously. Is this done? No. Michelle, you go to the government office, sorry to say this, what will greet you is a coat hanging on that chair.
Right.
This doesn't happen in the private sector. You have to put in more hours. You have to look at the services you are giving. You have to query the complaints that are coming through. You have to improve continuously so as to delight your customers.
Right. I like that you mentioned that because, with any government institution, if you go there by 1 p.m., then you'll have to wait until about 3 p.m. for them to come from lunch, even if they're still in the same office.
Correct.
But let's talk about, you've talked about the redundancies, but there's also a lot of industrial action, like I mentioned earlier. How then can human resource managers ensure that they can avert industrial action, both the government and private employers?
Right. Industrial action in the workplace is actually, you have the right to picket and to form unions, to be organized as an employee so that you can, go into negotiation, right? Michelle, we have a very elaborate industrial relations charter in this country, right, which is within our labor laws. This industrial relations charter will bring out the tripartite organization, which is the government, the employer, and of course the employees. Talk about the government is the Ministry of Labor. Talk about the employers could be FKE representation. We talk about the employee, it will be the COTU or the unions that are in place. And industrial actions has been clearly stipulated within the arrangement of our law, how it ought to be handled. When you have a preference, when you want to negotiate, you will give your proposals. The employer will consider the proposal. If you don't agree, you will go to the government. The government will arbitrate. There is no way you're going to have an industrial action going on for 46 days and you don't have a return to work formula.
Right.
There is no way you are going to sit down and negotiate when there is no production, when there is no service to the members. That is, I think, where we have got it wrong. Right?
Right.
When you talk about negotiating a CPA, it's all about my capability to pay, all right, of the services that you are providing. And that's where we come up with job evaluation. That's where you see the Salary and Remuneration Commission is being brought into the issue of the doctors, because it ought to have advised the government or the county governments what they need to do to make sure that they are able to meet the compensation or the payroll obligation from 1 month to another to the year in terms of their budget. I cannot give you in the CPA what I cannot afford.
Right.
So that is where I think the problem is in terms of sensitizing our people to understand that as I talk about compensation, I must be able to earn this money as an employer, as a government, before I pay it. If you see, we are the heavily taxed community in Africa, if I have to tell you in terms of government. That means if you were to make the CPA or the remuneration for civil servants more higher than it's at the moment, who has to pay? It is you, Michelle, and me, through the taxes that we are paying, right? So that is, again, what we need to go back and say, how much is the government able to collect? How is the government able to plan the civil servant payment? What are the benefits they can give? What are the costs? And are they able to collect the taxes, optimize its expenditure to meet the requirement of workers so that the government workers can give services to the public? That's where the problem is. The workers need to understand, and the government ought to plan nicely so that we are able to meet. So when you go to a negotiation table, these are some of the facts that you must table. In the government, we collected these taxes the other year. This is how we used it. Going forward, if we were to give you an additional 20 billion, we will not be able to meet the obligations of the money we have. Then the government, now the Ministry of Labor, but now the employer will be the Ministry of Health, probably, and then you will have Ministry of Labor with the arbitration coming in so that we are able to agree and solve this issue.
I mean, and as a legally recognized institution, IHRM, has this advice been given to the government, the Ministry of Health, for example?
Right. That's what we have done. We've written to them. We have told them we are willing to come in and arbitrate. Should you want us to do so, as experts, we will be able to sit down and advise the doctors. It is true you have your right to request for more pay, but let's see whether this more pay is there. The government, you have the right or you have an obligation to continue improving your employees' terms and conditions year in, year out. We are able to do that. We're waiting to make sure, to get to know whether the CS will want us to be involved. If they want us to, we will do that.
And let's hope they do, because this tell me it's 46 days is rather long. But even when you look at these CBS, what the workers are asking for is not just better pay, but better working conditions. And so when we compare those two, how do pay and working conditions in this new age, the 21st century, how are they changing as compared to what HR professionals used before? Right.
Previously, the HR professional will give you a mortgage that will last 15 years. A good thing to have then. all right? They will give you a car loan. I mean, you will take another 5 years to pay for. But things, Michelle, have totally changed.
Completely.
All right? With the current generation of workers that we have, they actually don't want to see you talking about long-term conversation. It's all about the management of their benefits. What are these benefits? How do they improve on their current lifestyle? How do they enable achieve what they want to achieve for now? But we also want to go back and say we need a combination of what we used to do and the changing millennial requirement in the workplace, so that we are able to induct the millennial. They are very intelligent people. They work smart. They are online all the time. If you want to report, they'll give you, all right? They are quick into action, as preferred to the area staff. But then, for you to be quick and action, you need consistency and you need to stay in a workplace so that you fully understand the impact your position brings in the workplace. If you see millennials are not staying in the workplace, they are there today, after 6 months, they tell you, I changed my jobs. And you're, what? It could have been 4 years, 6 years down the line. So we want a combination of the two, this evolving work, generation vis-a-vis what we used to have, because we clearly know that consistency and focus on quality in the workplace will sustain the revenue of the company or the organization, so that you are continually able to give the benefits. So when you come to benefits in terms of salaries, salaries will be evaluated in terms of your job description. What are you able to contribute, right, to the organization? And then thereafter, we will do an aggregate and say, your compensation then will be put into a basic salary, then you will have a house allowance, then we have some benefits, maybe it's a phone allowance, maybe it's a transport allowance. All that will be put in place, right, to make sure that you have a better remuneration and allowance package. But remember, there are other conditions like medical. Medical is very critical.
Right.
You fall sick now, you really want medical attention, so there ought to be a medical scheme. You talk about education. I want to improve my education skills, so I want to go further and do my MPA or do this special course. I mean, you need to have something that will facilitate the staff to do that. Then there will be an issue of vacations. All right? The law clearly says you should have your annual leave. Anything packaged around your leave in terms of that you want to make a vacation out of town, wherever it is, that will also help you. So the work environment is all about all this put together within the environment of work, taking into account the hours of work as well. So
and
that
we've seen a lot of companies and institutions now bringing in different considerations for mothers, for example, pregnant mothers, breastfeeding mothers, because there was a time for specific jobs. As a woman, if you fall pregnant, then your job is over. Or, you cannot breastfeed from work, so you have to leave work and take some time off. And that's rather interesting.
For any employer who really wants to have better productivity, allow me this, say this. If you really wanted to perform better in your organization, you need to look at the gender balance. When you are nearing 50-50 men, women, then you're going to do well as an organization.
Right.
What does this tell us? It tells us that women are better in terms of production, and they are able to concentrate, right? So when you go into discrimination, when this child-bearing period and the breastfeeding, and we know that has to take a whole 6 months, as an employer, you need to arrange some, arrangements to facilitate this in the workplace.
I think that's what most HR professionals are scared about, because if you have 50% women in the office and half of them fall pregnant, then the planning becomes very difficult.
Not really. There is a better way that you could do that, right? It's all about arranging work. I mean, the time you're away, vis-a-vis the time you will spend to contribute to the organization is what I want to look at, right? Number one. Number two, it is the right, and it is by nature that ladies have to go through that period of childbearing, all right? And there are a lot of changes that have happened of late. This is not like the time when we grew up, Michelle, where you would be 8, 7 of you in a household. Of late is 1, 2, 3, all right? That means it's manageable, all right? With this reality, then you will be able to manage the gender parity. But trust you me, if we had more women in the workplace, we would be having higher productivity.
Right.
Why? Because of concentration. Why? Because of the discipline, right, in terms of requirement. And then there is no issue of, the men have had
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
Issues that keep following up. Oh, my car in the garage. Oh, my little samba. Oh, this and that. So this is not very common with the ladies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's very interesting to hear. And another thing that HR professionals also seem to be very scared about is, well, not scared, but concerned about, is what they call half-baked graduates in the corporate market today. How do they deal with that?
Very true. Michelle, we witnessed a very downward trend in terms of productivity in the workplace. And this is because of the liberalization of our universities and the issuance of degrees. I have no problem with evening classes. I have no problem with people arranging them to do their studies online. It is all well, but it seems that we are not getting right from the lane started pitting us when we went into several universities without having a faculty. All right? The professors that were within there are being shared among so many universities, though they are not able to concentrate. A professor should be looking after a specific number of students within a specific university. But you will find that this professor is in Nairobi University, is in Kenyatta, is in Meru University, is all over. So it doesn't give quality concentration. That's one. Two, there is a little bit of cheating in the process of trying to attain these certificates.
Right.
And it is all in the public. We know that some people do not go to class all the time or do not score all the time so that they are able to get the papers legally. Michelle, when I was in university, there used to be cuts. When you do a cut and fail, you have to rewind severally until you get it right. I don't hear that of late. That means the quality is not right. Another aspect is with internet. You can get everything in Wikipedia. You can Google all the answers, and you can present your papers within the class. Now, the lectures then ought to marry and clearly be specific on how to check out on this cheating so that we eliminate this quick pick.
I mean, nowadays, even if I would confess, when I was in campus, I actually used to write papers for other people for money. And, you know, so there's companies that write and do academic papers for people who do not attend class at all. And these people end up getting distinctions and first-class honors.
That's illegal. That's illegal. That is now the role where the lecturers ought to come in, so that they are very strict in terms of checking the students are progressing with the coursework that they have been given. I don't think that is being followed. And if they are doing it, then that strictness is not there.
Right.
But when you bring in the issue of being wrote for a paper for money, I think that's where, as a society, we are going wrong. We think all that we could do is make quick money, all that we could do, there are shortcuts to make. Sorry, you cannot live a quality life or achieve a stable economy by always taking shortcuts. No, you have to follow the laid down rules and procedures for you to succeed. That is, I think, as a society where we have gone wrong. Michelle, I was out of the country the other day, and we were leaving the conference hall where I was, and it was late, so we were going to the hotel, right? And the rights, there was nobody on the road. Right. Those guys would wait, and the rights have to turn green before you move on. But in this country, what do? If
there's no police officer, you have to go.
You check left, right, and you go.
Right.
That is where I think we got it wrong. Shortcuts do not help us. It's like in a production line. If you don't pack your products properly, you go through the quality assurance, and then you package it properly and market it to make sure it is in the shelves, you will not be able to make a sale. Right. That's what we are talking about in terms of what we do even in education. Let the education take the whole planned arrangements in terms of getting sure that the students and the participants have been properly examined and they have been given the papers they qualify. I want to say kudos to CS Matiang'i. I think he has done it right. Though what he needs to do is now go down and say, wait a minute, how do I concretize this within the policy, even put it into the law, so that it is followed through. We don't want to see when Matiang'i moves out, that then we will get back to where we were. But that's what is needed. I mean, to make sure that the students get the score that they are supposed to get. And that will give you an assurance of better workers tomorrow. That will lead to the improvement of the economy. If we want to be a middle-income country by 2030, there must be a deliberate move to make sure that our human resources are properly trained, are properly oriented, that they have the workplace habits, that they are able to integrate and be able to bring that wealth that this nation wants.
And let's just delve a bit into your personal life, because one doesn't just become the chairman of the Institute of Human Resource Management overnight. When did this begin? I mean, from your education background.
Right, Michelle, I did a degree in sociology and psychology from Egerton University. Right. A little while ago, that's around the dates will be 88 going up to 90.
A little while ago.
A little while ago, right?
All right.
So thereafter, I came out, I've worked for the Ministry of Labor. I've been a labor officer in Nairobi. I've been a district labor officer. I've been a professional labor officer. I've worked at the labor head office. I was the senior industrial relations within the then industrial court, which is now Employment and Relations Court. I remember I was under the late Justice Coker, very detailed and disciplined charge.
Right.
So I got all that training in terms of, the law aspects. Then I've also done a higher national diploma in human resource management, have done a master's in human resource management, and several other trainings that I have been able to do. And that has helped me to be a better professional when it comes to human resources, to make sure that I'm able to engage, to make sure that I'm able to communicate, to make sure that I'm able to negotiate, to make sure that I'm able to identify the resources in terms of people, put them in the workplace, prepare them, make sure that they are able to attain their targets, and subsequently make sure that I participate in the organizational strategy that will be able then to deliver the goals and the aims of an organization. As you said earlier, I've worked for a number of organizations.
Right.
I've worked for Nestle, I've worked for EABL. I mean, I've been around for some time, as to say.
And that's very interesting, because in that you'll be able to probably compare the industry since probably when you began and how you got into human resource.
Right.
How has it, the transformation been so far?
There's a huge transformation from what we used to do then and what we do now. Previously, human resources was seen as where the documents are kept.
Right.
If you want your payroll paper, maybe a pay slip, or some warning is given. It was a payroll records kind of department where you would only want to go into termination. You would privilegely participate in recruitment. That has totally changed now. A business cannot work without human resources, right? Why? The cost of human resources in an organization is 75%. When you put the salaries together, the rewards, the allowances, or the welfare, or everything, that's a huge cost that must be managed properly. Who is going to manage it? There must be a professional HR trained manager to do it.
Right.
So that you are able to get return on investment for this huge investment that you have put under human resource capital. So that transformation has been there. So when you talk about company strategy, you must talk about human resource strategy. Human resource strategy is actually company strategy because you are using this very important resource to make sure that you meet your organizational goals and objectives. So that is very important. This is what we never used to do this then. So now you find that an HR person must be in the mix of things to make sure that the company strategy is aligned and is working, right?
So the job is not just to hire and fire.
Right. So that has changed. HR people now are able to query the sales team, all right? How did you, what plans do you have? What targets do you have? How do you deliver these targets? What are the resources you need? You need a card, you need, the gadgets that will enable to do that. HR now is able to go into the production plant and engage with the engineers in terms of the technology that we are using. Is it relevant? What do you need to be done about your training? How can we innovate solutions? HR now can deal with marketing in terms of what do you want to market to which class and which people, and what catchment do you have? How do we assess the impact of our marketing activities? Do they deliver to the bottom line? So HR is a whole-round function within an organization that makes sure that all the investments in the area of human capital guarantees The name here is guarantees return to the investor.
Right.
So that is the transformation that we have had. And if you see the way we're going now, it's expected that there is more change that is coming up in the area of HR. The two trending issues at the moment is employee engagement. Why? Communication is very critical in the workplace. If I don't communicate your goals, if I don't communicate the company expectations, if I don't communicate your performance, I will not be able to motivate you. I will not be able to tap into your potential. I will not be able to prepare you for the challenges we have as an organization. So employee engagement is very key. Now, communication has also changed. From the previous, we used to have internal memos that are written and pinned in the notes board, all right? But now, with your iPad, I just have to Twitter you what I want you to do, all right? I need to WhatsApp, I need to tell you what is going on in the organization. So then, as human resources, we must leverage on the changes in communication so that we are able to communicate this to the workers. That is about employee engagement. The other aspect is about HR analytics. We need to analyze the potential of our employees. When you come from campus and probably you're 20, 22 years, and then when you are retiring at 60 or 50, 52 years, what's your productivity? What is your output at this level? This is what we're looking at. What is it that is going to hinder you as an employee not to be able to deliver? So the HR analytics is going deep to look at the numbers, all right, and the productivity, and what interventions that need to be done. What business solutions are needed at specific stage as the workforce matures, so that you are able to continue consistently delivering the results that the organization wants.
So the sector has become one of the key components of any institution and any business, definitely. All right, and you know, with that being said, and so much training and so much work experience, do you have any time for personal life?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I mean, are you married? Do you have any children?
Yes, I'm married. I'm married to my beautiful wife. Her name is Beatrice, and we have children. One is a 18-year-old. She finished Form 4 recently. Scored very well. She was one of the girls who got the A's. So I'm quite happy. One
of the 141 chosen few.
Correct.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Then I've got a second girl also. She also did Standard 8 last year. Also passed very well. She got admitted to Alliance Girls last week. So she's doing very well. And of course, I've got a young boy, 7.5 years. He's in Standard 2 now. So I'm a fully family man.
And he's probably #1 in his class as well.
Right. He's doing well. He's getting there. You know, as they grow up, you need to train them. The one thing I must tell people is even if you be busy at the workplace, provide time for your family. Make sure that you spend time when they do their homework.
And you know, most men don't do that. You know, when you advocate for family time, you just expect your wife to be home with the children, and you get home from work. Well, how do you manage to? I mean, by the time they do their homework is what, by 8 p.m. So you should be home by then. How do you manage to schedule your work like that?
I do that. What I do is I get to the office early. By 7:15, I'm in the office. I'll do all my work. Of course, I'll have a break here and there to make sure that, my break would mean going to see the staff where they are, greet them, have a chat, tell them what challenge they have. I spend much of my time in meetings, in terms of strategy alignment and making sure that the strategy actions are being fulfilled. So I do a lot of that. But I'm sure to be out of the office by 6:15, 6:30. That will get me home in good time for the homework. We'll do the homework, and then we will, of course, have some time to chat. We'll have some time for popcorn in the house so that we can catch up, And I make sure that every morning I drop the one who is with me now, the young boy, to school. Like before I came here, I had to make sure that has happened.
That's very nice. I mean, and are you a dad, or are you more of that HR expert in the house, trying to make sure everything goes right?
To my wife, I'm a husband. Number one. To my children, I'm a father and a dad. So I look at the holistic need of my family. If it's my children, have they gone to school? Are they spiritually okay? So I must accompany them to church, and teach them in the right way. For the Bible tells me to do so, so I will do that. Then in terms of social, I'll socialize with them. Occasionally we'll have time, out enjoying and trying to make sure that they get to see what's around. And of course, discipline. If they mess up, I'm there to make sure that that discipline is administered.
Is instilled, right?
Of course, with love.
All right. And other than family, I mean, social life, outside family and outside work, what do you do for fun, your hobbies, for example?
I tend to... I like athletics,
right.
so I'll jog around, right? So I'll do a little bit of jogging around, a few in the gym. I also like farming, right? So
really?
A little bit I'll go look at my cow and see how it's doing.
I mean, do you own a farm or do you actually go to the Shamba? That's two different things.
I go to the Samba and there's a little farm. Yes.
All right, that's very interesting.
Right.
And, you know, we're getting a lot of questions here on our Twitter page on this conversation. And this question always comes up when speaking about HR, dealing with the sexual harassment in the workplace. And it's a very pertinent question. It's actually an anonymous viewer. How do you deal with sexual harassment in the workplace? And this is actually a male who sent me this message.
Right. Sexual harassment can be categorized into the whole family of all type of harassments that will come in the workplace. A man can harass another man, right? And when you talk about sexual, then it go into gender. Right? You need to know that the Constitution and more so the labor laws of this country are quite specific on how to handle sexual harassment. So there ought to be a committee set aside, right, to handle such issues. However, you have to have a statement clearly distributed within the policies of the organization, right, on harassment and sexual harassment policy for the organization with a specific statement on what you are going to do when this occurs, right? Now, sexual harassment occurs in the workplace because of that exposure and that people wanting to work and know each other and team building. You don't team build the level of sexual harassment. You must know that everybody has got his or her rights, and those rights must be protected, right? So it's an issue that is coming up, but HR managers are able to address this issue. There's a law that ensures and protects violation of such rights in the workplace. There must be that statement, there must be that policy, and when a sexual harassment is reported, you must get the evidence, and this evidence must be investigated in the most respectful and honorable way. You're not going to, you must conceal some of the names for purposes of removing embarrassment in the workplace. Right? But once you get that clearly investigated, then you are to move and make sure that the calibrates are, the discipline is dispensed accordingly. If it's a warning, if it's dismissal, if it's termination, that happens. Right? So there is that harassment, both from men and from women in the workplace.
Right. We're speaking to Elijah Situma, who is the chairman of the Institute of Human Resource Management. If you have any questions or comments, do feel free to interact with us on Twitter at KT News, at KTN Kenya, at Michelle Ngele. You can also use the hashtag Morning Express KTN. And as we continue with this conversation on human resource management, another one of our viewers here, Chris, is asking, what's the best way to approach HR for salary increase?
Right. That's a good one, Chris. Thank you for the question. First is to understand your job description, right? And what are the contributions you are bringing to the organization. Remember, any organization has got salary bands for different jobs, right? So for you to desire salary increment, you have to clearly certify what are your contributions, number one. Number two, a salary increment in many organizations will come along with your career growth, right? Are you stagnating in your position? Have you been there for 3-4 years? Or do you to have been promoted or have that cross-function change, or move from one department to the other so that you can get a holistic understanding of the business? What are you doing differently from what you've been doing before? So before you really want to go to HR and say, hey, wait, I want my check up, you need to go back and say, what am I doing in terms of my targets, in terms of my performance? What's the contribution? Many times staff in the workplace want to only focus on one area. If you are a sales manager, that's a sales manager. You don't want to get involved in other organizational projects that come up, right? If an organization is going to carry out other projects, they might be out of sales, want to see a proactive employee going into such a project. What this tells you, that you learn more about your business or your organization through successive rollout of projects. So when you come to HR, then you will be telling me, what I mean, Mr. HR, I participated in this project. This is the results. This is what I've been able to do. I think I'm able to contribute to the organization. So those are some of the grounds.
Right. And, you know, yes, I hope you're listening. And a lot of feedback coming in. Melissa Omolo here says, such a great interview with Mr. Situma. I love the way he gives his family priority. That's the way to go. And we have also Kennedy here asking, how can he encourage business people like me? And this is an interesting aspect he's bringing in terms of being self-employed and, you know, starting off, getting employees, you know, the aspect of human resource from a small startup. How does one go about that?
All right, Michelle, business is about discipline. If you want to succeed in business, is to be very meticulous with what you want to achieve, where, when, and how. You need to keep reporting to yourself whether you are making one step ahead every day. You need to be very consistent. It's consistent. If you are dealing with products, you must make sure that the quality of the product is very high. Don't compromise for quick profits. If you are dealing with service, make sure that that service sells itself outside there. So as a businessman, what you need to do then is make sure that you have your idea right, what you want to achieve, your goals. You must clearly prioritize what you want to achieve within a specific period of time.
Right.
Thereafter, then you must get your structures right. How am I going to deliver this product? All right? Do I need any equipment? Of course, I need people. What type of people do I need? You need to be able to select people who are passionate about what they are doing, not qualified.
Right.
Qualification is good.
Passionate.
You have to be passionate with what you're doing. Then that passion combined with your qualification, you become a better person to deliver. So any businessman must look into that. Make sure he has got people, he has got equipment, he has got space, he has looked at the market and the consumers, and then be able to put that structure together with the strategy to deliver to the market. So as a business person, be consistent. Get your structure in place. Have a strategy. Understand your product. Go into the market. Review every aspect of this arrangement and keep on changing as per the market changes that you have.
Right. And as we keep on waiting on more feedback to come in, we've talked about marriage, we've talked about your family, but your relationship with, you know, do you believe in a higher power, religion-wise, spirituality?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Which power do you subscribe to, if I can ask that?
Michelle, I subscribe to the one and only power of our Lord Jesus Christ. Yes.
I understand you're a very staunch Seventh-day Adventist.
Yes, I am. I'm a church elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Right? So that's what I must do every single Sabbath. Wake up with my family, go to church, serve my members. Right, as well as make and plan on how we are going to, you know, evangelize. If we want to talk to the community, if we want to participate in church programs, so we do that. I subscribe to only that one power.
Right, and it's interesting that you're a church elder, not just a church goer. When did that begin?
A little while ago.
And I don't know what you mean when you say a little while ago, but you said 1990.
About 15 or so years ago.
You've been an elder for 15 years.
Yes. You know, the office of the elder, you will serve for a number of years, and then you will move to, like, you can be put in charge of development. You can be put in charge of an elder in charge of development, an elder in charge of evangelism. So you rotate. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And does that, your spirituality and being in that position, help you with your people skills? Because as an HR professional, you're basically a people manager.
Correct. It helps me a lot, right? That I'm able to deal with people. I'm able... When you deal with people, Michelle, it's all about your integrity and about your dignity and how honest you are with the people. Then you are able to go along with people. When people trust you, when people believe you, they give you an opportunity for you to read them, right? You know, remember, leadership is all about influence.
Right.
So if you want to deal with people, you have to be open with them. You have to have that that integrity in you, and you have to be consistent. You don't have don't need to be biased in your decisions. So my upbringing in the church has been able to help me to make sure that I keep my integrity, I follow up the discipline that I have been brought up with, and I'm able to deal with the people and dispense justice, as it were, in quotes, in whatever that I'm involved in doing.
Right. Yeah. And I have another interesting question here. Eunice is asking, is the HR Institute responsible for the corruption we're seeing in government? Because we did speak earlier about the fact that human resource is a big component of development and the economy.
Right.
And now, with all these government institutions reportedly losing money or unaccounted for money, does HR play a role in that?
The Institute of HR Management condemns corruption, right? Condemns everything that will devolve anybody is right. Right? And by so, the government is not giving services to its people because corruption is taking away the resources that we have. As an institute, we condemn such acts. Michelle, as I said earlier, in this society, we've come to where everybody's saying, what is in it for me, number one. Number two, there's a lot of shortcuts that are being done. Right? Everybody's looking about his own people. All right? Where do I get my people? All that constitutes the long way of doing things. Right? We all need to earn honest living.
Right.
We all need to receive the service from everybody. All right? And rightfully so, because the Constitution says that we must access those rights. We must get government services. So anything to do with corruption is denying you and me the services that we are supposed to get.
Right.
If you hear the doctors talk, they're saying, wait a minute, tenders are done. And they are expeditiously done.
Expeditiously, yeah. That's why they say lipe kama tender.
Yes. So why is it that how issues are not being worked out? What they're trying to tell the government is, you have money, but you're not planning this money properly so as to give us better terms and conditions of employment. This money, you're using it in corruption. You're using it in other projects that are not adding value to the public.
Right.
And that's where we will need, as citizens, ask for proper leadership, political leadership, right, to make sure that we are able to provide services. Everybody must be accountable for all resources that they are managing, be it a ministry, be it a department, be it a parastatal, the way we do it in the private sector. Michelle, if my department has got a budget, I have to account for every little bit of it. And I told you, if I'm in HR, then the 75% of the revenue of the company are in the people. So I must honestly and transparently be accountable for all the resources that have been given. So we do not tolerate and condone any corruption.
But aren't these HR managers in government part of the management council that you chair?
Yes, they are. They are. Actually, two of them, as I told you earlier, the council has 9 members, and 2 of them are from the government. And yes, we have had an intervention with the Public Service Commission. Right. And we are actually under the Ministry of Public Service, Gender and Youth Affairs. We have had an interface with the CS. And this is kind of slow process, but they're being told on what they need to do, that they need to be accountable, they need to address all the vices that are coming within the government. The fact that the officials of the government are not in the office to serve you in itself, to me, is corruption.
Right.
Because you are loping the government those hours that you are supposed to be there. If you were in the private sector, I'll actually write a memo to you to explain where you were for those hours that you were absent. So the government officials, the civil servants who are listening, I must tell them, be faithful. Give the 8 hours that you are supposed to give to your employer. That is where it starts. Be disciplined. Do not demand for any favor for any service that you are giving out. Why should you? For additional payout. So these officials have been told as much. We keep on engaging with them, and there are a lot of activities that we've lined to make sure that even the county government public service boards, we have an interface with them. We have had several meetings, by the way, especially we started in Nyanza Western. We're going to Coast, the public service that we have. We got meetings. We're trying to train them. We are trying to encourage them that they need to emplace the professional HR management principles. You don't recruit somebody because he comes from your ward or is your relative or he was good when you were, campaigning for the MCA seat. So we are trying to, train and make sure that we have this corrected.
Right. Yeah. And that's definitely an issue of concern. But just before we wind up, with this strategy that was launched by the Institute of Human Resource Management back in 2016, it's not been a year yet, but what are we expecting from that strategy for the year 2017?
All right. As I said earlier, we have been able, through that strategy, to achieve several aspects. First, we have got the network, the country network. It's now in place. All of issues are erected. We have got an active CBD calendar, continuous professional development calendar is in place. We have put in place the Human Resource Examination Board, HRM-PEP. All human resource managers are now going to be examined under the Human Resource Examination Board as is in the Act. So we have put that in place. We have been able to look at the leadership of the Secretariat. We are also making some changes there to make sure that we move on. We're also trying to look at the law and how it is, what can we interface with, all right, so that we are able to go there. So 2017, there's a lot that we plan to do. First is to roll out the first HR-managed examination for HR professionals in the country. We call it Certified HR Professional 1, 2, 3, right? So the first examination is going to be rolled out, right? 2017, we want to see, we have a college of human resource management. We want to have that college specifically specialized to make sure that it gives these CHRP programs and other programs, like we're rolling out a degree program. We want to make sure that CHRP then is well understood. And the CHRM, as our college becomes CHRM University, right? We're also planning to make sure that we get the membership registered, right? But of critical importance, something that I must mention here is the HR quality audits that we must do, right? We are going to ask the organizations, starting with the KTN and the Standard Group, whether you are properly catered in terms of human resources. So is your human resource director or manager a member of the institute? Does he or she qualify to be a member?
And to be a member of the institute, you must have some sort of certificate, I understand.
Yes. You must be trained. So we're carrying out a countrywide audit. We start with Nairobi.
Right.
All right. We will, of course, do samples to start with to make sure that the HR managers are complying to the Act.
So we're looking at a complete overhaul of the sector.
Yes, it must be a complete overhaul, and for those who have not come forth to get membership and get trained and they are working in HR, I think their days are up. They rather start looking for alternative employment, because when we move in, we'll be able to advise the employer. We'll also be able to charge this person for being in HR without having proper qualification and proper registration. If we do so, we'll move the quirks, we'll move all these issues you've talked about. You've talked about corruption. If the HR person is not the one pointing out those habits within the organization, who will do it? And that's what we are saying. If you are professionally qualified, you will be able to be consistent, and you'll be able to assist the industry and your business to achieve greater heights in terms of performance. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Elijah Situma. He is the chairperson of the Institute of Human Resource Management and the current Human Resource Director at G4S, here on Morning Express, speaking about the 4-year strategic plan that is set to revolutionize human resources in the country. And that brings us to a close here on A Person of Interest. We thank you for watching. For those on our KTN Home channel, Life and Style is up next. For those on KTN News, we'll be back with the news highlights for the hour.